All right, how we doing?
Great, Coach.
Great, glad to see everybody today. You guys was a little thin yesterday at practice, so I take attendance too. All right, what do we got?
So what happened to right now, practice?
You actually one of the guys at practice yesterday. Just, one of the, going through practice, normal practice stuff, so we'll list on the injury report as it is.
When you get an injury midweek or late in the week like you did last week and this week, how does that change your game plan or what you?
Yeah, it's a good question. You kind of prepare during the week to have different positions backed up, a couple different ways, so that if there is issues, and you try to practice that way. So, for instance, like for the most part, if you have like two positions, you try to keep it in like a 2 or 3 man rotation, so that those guys are getting reps. It helps the development for down the road. So whether it's a injury thing, which is really not, it's more of a developmental thing, that if something comes up, those guys can step right in and just kind of take over anyway. So you're always kind of put in those situations where you're continually trying to back up or develop multi-role type of players for that type of situation.
I think a lot of us have noticed the precautions you've taken for safety in practice with the knee braces with the linemen in particular. How do you balance the physicality of practice and prepping for a week with keeping you guys healthy?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, again, in general with this game, I feel that if you go out and practice at a high level and everybody practices at a similar tempo, I find that the injuries are less. I think when the injuries increase maybe is when that tempo is maybe taken down or not particularly all on the same page, and you might have guys going at one percentage and another guy going at a different percentage. I think that's when injuries increase. So in general, we're trying to do the best we can to work to develop the players, which again, for the most part is, when we can be in equipment because we play the game in equipment, try to put a level down and try to execute at a pretty good pace because it's our only chance to get better at that. When you have those kind of offshoot periods or little practices with a little bit of a different tempo or dress or something like that, you just got to be careful in some of those situations. So I think, again, things like the knee braces are precautionary because there are situations where guys fall down or, stuff happens. No different than getting your ankles taped. You're trying to make sure that you're just protecting those joints at all times because, sometimes freak things happen.
Matt, on kickoffs this year, it seems like you guys are not having many touchbacks at all. Is that more a personal preference, strategic thing for you? Because Sam has usually been so good at doing that in years past. So I just wondering if that's something that you're trying to do strategically.
Well, I think in general, that play is an interesting play right now because I think a lot of people are trying to look at it with the change in the rules to see exactly what's the best way to handle that particular play. Certainly a lot of it depends on the opponent you're playing, so I think it is a week-to-week thing.
I imagine there's a lot of chemistry on those plays, like offensive line, like special teams units, letting them work together. You've got a lot of turnover there as well. That combined with the new rules, how difficult has it been to, I guess, just get comfortable with the guys you have out there?
I think, in general, with kind of the play itself, I think everybody in the league still kind of work through different things that either work well for them or, that they can do against an opponent, so everyone's trying to figure that out. The personnel part of it is special teams is kind of a little bit different. That's always changing, week by week. You may have your core set of guys that are out there all the time, but the other matchups may change. Those positions may rotate based on availability, play time on offense or defense. You kind of have to put that all into factor when you decide who's going to be in those plays. Sometimes it might be a situation where the play is going to be back-to-back with the offensive unit going back out there to start the series, and you want to make sure that those guys are fresh. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. I would say similar, but a little bit different from the offensive line analogy that you were saying was, the old line, everybody's in there real tight. It's kind of compact. It's a small space, small area. Special teams is definitely a space play. So there are a lot of individual blocks that take place or individual things that guys have to see. But there are some of those where it is a combination. Where you got to see some twists or different guys working together in those situations. So it's not as complex as the 5 guys of the offensive line trying to see things the same way, but there are pairs in there that may be working together. So there is some obviously practice time that needs to take place for that.
When the league sends out an advisory or whatever, design rules change or clarification or whatever, how much does that really enforce what you're already doing, or is the coaching going to be modified?
Yeah, we're always looking for that information and that feedback. We're trying to coach it the right way. We're trying to teach it to the players the right way, the best that we can. And I think as the games go on, especially if there's rule changes or maybe points of emphasis that are different from year to year, those messages, memos, tapes, those are all important for us because it just helps us get on the same page you know, the one way for us to see it and coach it is obviously through the games that we play, but it's really good for us to be able to see the tape coming in from other teams that have played or other games or other situations that have come up in a game that maybe haven't come up in ours, which then we can go back and teach off of and say, hey, look, here's something that happened in another game, this is what they call, this is why, this is what they're looking for, and be able to let our players see that on film.
I want to go back to what I asked, well, since you said it's a week-to-week thing, what factors then do you weigh in deciding whether you want to have a touchback or not? Because the quarter, last week, as an example, where Alex is one of the better return guys in the league.
Sure. So logic would say that would probably be a good thing to start with, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, all that goes in, right? But it could be the frontline guys, it could be the returner, it could be the blockers, could be the indoor-outdoor stadium effect, you know, from that aspect. Denver's going to be a lot different than a lot of places, you know, because it's harder to place the ball, or it's easier to kick it longer. You know, so all of those things go into effect week to week. That's why it does change for those situations. Could change based on your personnel, you know, where you're at of the particular week and how you feel about your guys, whether, you know, on the coverage unit or, you know, just in general with those guys, yeah.
So just to be clear, there's no concern with Santa Flag being able to get the end zone.
I think you're getting into something that's not even relevant. It's just, you know, like I said, it's week to week.
Going back to your offensive line real quick, when Kenny Wiggins was called upon, so he played really well.
Yeah.
What kind of confidence do they give you going to this game? And we don't know where Frank's at, but what kind of confidence do they give you if you have to go to the next match?
You know, I think it just gives us confidence in general when those guys get an opportunity, any position that's, you know, maybe a guy that's not out there every single snap to step into a role and execute at a high level that you say, okay, hey, look, we're, you know, either maybe, hey, we've got to give them some more reps, or we can maybe come up with some different packages, or, you know, we feel pretty good right here if there's a situation where we either need to, you know, pull off a guy or, you know, give a guy a break, whatever that case is. That obviously is always a very comforting feeling from a coaching perspective that, you know, the scheme is going to be able to stay the same, the communication, the assignments, all that stuff. You don't have to modify any of that, which is great. You know, there's definitely situations where, you know, you got somebody that has to go in and play, and you're trying to move some other parts around to, you know, to compensate for it. Not that that person is any less, it's just different, so you're trying to handle it. That was pretty good to see from that standpoint. Again, but a guy like Kenny Wiggins, which was great, we saw a lot of that last year. You know, he played a lot of good football last year. We saw that on tape, which was one of the reasons that we thought it'd be great to bring him in.
Just sort of a general coaching question here, but when you're going through the film and doing all your study, how often does it come up where you'll see a specific guy do something that you want one of your players to see? Like if DeMarcus Lawrence jumps off the page doing something, will you show that to your guys and try to have them recreate some of the stuff he does?
Yeah, definitely for practice. If we're trying to give a look from that standpoint, kind of a twofold question. As a coach, if you see something that an opponent's doing from a particular individual player, you try to simulate that the best that you can in practice. So we show our guys that maybe in that particular play, giving that look against the offense or defense, and say, hey, can you play it like this, or can you use this move, or can you play the run with this technique? We'll definitely try to simulate that the best we can. I think the flip side of it's true too. You know, if you study some players, and we're looking at Tyron Smith, you know, playing tackle and how good he is and some of the techniques that he works, you know, it's nothing wrong with pulling that tape off too and saying, hey, look, here's another guy with some long arms, great athletic ability, here's how he plays some of these blocks, or here's how he protects, and just continually try to give educational pieces to our guys that are always working on their craft to get better. I think sometimes they may see an opponent or they may see somebody else, and you know, it's an easier way to pick up a tool or a technique that can help them play.
Yep, this might kind of go along with that, but you guys have those black shirts, you have there, right, for some other guys that you want to target on the scout team or whatever. If you have a defensive back wearing one, is that a guy you want to go after, or a guy you want to avoid, or is it based on your playing, I guess? Is that,
Yes.
The Cowboys run that stretch zone play really well.
Yep.
The line and the back obviously go into that. With the defensive, from the defensive perspective, is there one or two guys that are more critical to stopping that player, or is it really all 11?
It's all 11. You know, it's a really, that play is such a hard play to defend, and obviously we've had some troubles with it here this year. It's one of those plays where if just somebody gets a little bit out of a space, that there's a big play opportunity there with the way that they block it and run it. Dallas has a couple of different nuances to that play that they do with some, you know, pin and pulls or divide the defense type of plays, additions, blocking scheme-wise to that. So it's just a really hard play. You know, they're trying to obviously use all the horizontal stretch of the field they can, and then when they have the backs especially like some of the backs that we've seen that have that burst ability to get through maybe that short space quickness area and then get into the secondary as fast as they do. The angles become really tough. You know, even the guys in the back end that are trying to force the play or, you know, pursue the play from the backside, those angles change very quickly, you know, on them. And with so much space, you know, it's similar to, you know, some of the return plays that we talk about in special teams. You know, it just becomes very difficult to cover that. So, got to be real disciplined. You know, we got to do a good job with our technique. And, you know, we just got to recognize that, you know, obviously what becomes difficult is when there's different complementary plays that come off of it. And, you know, those are the ones that kind of, if you hesitate a little bit on it, then, you know, then you get in trouble right there. So it is, with that particular play, I would say, a full team defensive effort. I think there's one guy that really just makes that play because of the way they kind of stretch the defense.
All right, guys?
Okay, great, appreciate it.